Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. In this video, I continue to build the Eagle Moss Willys MB Jeep. Now, I am on pack 5. I'm on stages 15 through 18. Now, if you haven't done so already, head over to eaglemoss.com and subscribe to this Jeep today. It's fantastic, and I'm having a blast building it. It's a lot of fun. So, without further ado, let's get started. And welcome back. Here are the stages for pack 5 of the Willys MB Jeep build. We have stage 15 through stage 18, and that will be all in one compassing into this video, so we'll have one video for all these stages. So if you give me a moment, I'll be right back and we'll look at the build instructions for stage 15. And here's the build instructions for the Willys Jeep, and this is part 1. I only received part 1 and never received a part 2 just yet. But do remember, you can go online and you can download their complete build instructions. It's one file, it's a PDF file, and you can use that for helping you along during your build. Also, you can follow me as I build it, because a lot of times it's kind of hard to tell how things go together. And if you follow me, you should be all right, because I'll make the mistakes before you do. Let's look at stage 15. And remember, everything will be filmed in 4K. And if you look here, here's our parts list, which comprises of the front differential and the drive shaft. And they want us to do some assembly here on the front differential and drive shaft itself. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 15. And give me a moment. I'll take these out and we'll get a closer look at the parts. And here's a close-up of those parts. These are the front differential parts, top and bottom, and the rear diff cover, along with the drive shaft, CM and FM screws. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install the bottom of the differential cover, and this is part 15B. Now, I've already pre-lubricated the holes for these screws, so oftentimes during my build I may not even say I did that, but that will be my normal operating procedures, is to lubricate those holes. Now, why do I lubricate them? Obviously, it makes the screws going easier. You're less apt to break the screw head off. And I like using my standard lubrication, which is the Vaseline. So I'm not going to reference that anymore for now on in this video. So we're going to go ahead and mount this on the axle from underneath. And we go ahead and put CM screws into this. Second screw. And that's good there. Next, I go ahead and put the drive shaft on, and that should just slide right on. Right onto this. You can see it goes into the transfer case and then into the transmission. So you can kind of see that. And then we take our differential cover itself, and you can see it has a mount hole. That's simply going to slide down on top, just like that. And then our top cover goes down on top of all that and holds everything together. There we go, kind of snapped in there. We put in 2 screws. FM screws. And that's tight. And that looks good there. Fantastic. Now let's do stage 16. Here's the build instructions for stage 16. And remember, you can download these off of the Eagle Moss website. And it looks like we're going to be building some shock absorbers and just have 4 steps going on with this. And it looks like we get to do this a couple times, so we're going to repeat this for the other side. There's the parts pack for stage 16, and like I was saying earlier, this is parts for the shocks. So give me a second, I'll take these out, we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts, and like I was saying, we have the shock absorber casings and rod along with the springs, FM and PM screws. So we'll go ahead and install the shocks up front, and here's your shock assembly, what they call the outer casing. And if you'll notice, it's longer on one side than the other, where the hole is. You want to have that up against the chassis. We're going to be putting in a PM screw into that. And that's good there. Now we'll take our spring and put it on the shaft itself. Same way, we want to have this side that's closest to the chassis. And I'm going to insert that into the shock. And we'll be using FM screw for this. Should line it up with the hole. And there we go. And there's our movement with the shock. Go ahead and do this on the other side. Put my screw into that first. And screw that in. That looks good there. And put my spring on the shaft. Same thing. And that was a PM screw I put on top. And we're going to put an FM screw on the bottom. You can kind of see that. There you go. And that should actuate. And it does. Very good. And that's all we do for stage 16. Stay tuned for stage 17. And here's the build instructions for stage 17. This time we're working on the steering box, and we have a lot going on here, and it can be a little bit complicated if you're not careful. So just follow along with me, and hopefully I'll get you through this. So there's lots of steps involved here for this steering box. Here's the parts pack for stage 17. Lots of small little parts in there. I'll take these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. Everything is metal. Here's our steering box itself, and it's already kind of pre-assembled already. They put a little snap ring in right here, and you can see the little gear network right there in the back. Spider gear type assembly. And then we have our little main gear right here for the steering, and that's made of metal. And of course, part of our steering rods is three components for the steering rod: DM, KM, IM, and JM screws. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to install this gear onto our steering box, and I'm going to go ahead and lubricate everything when it comes to that, so everything moves easily during the steering process. So I'm going to lubricate this shaft with some Vaseline and insert this into that, just like that. And I'm going to add some more Vaseline inside. And give it a turn. Here we go. Looks nice there. Okay, going to go ahead and put our steering box on this. I'm going to rotate this to where that flat edge is facing my right hand that I'm turning right now. So the flat edge is going to be right about like that. And we take our steering arm just like that, and that's going to go right up against that flat edge. And a JM screw will go into that. And lock that down. And there you have that. That's how that looks. Now I bring over the other arm here, and with this other arm there's actually a hole that goes all the way through on this side here, and this one over here does not. So obviously this does not hook up to my steering arm rod. So make sure the open one is on the outside or on the far end, and then we'll attach that. Turn this over, and we're going to mount the longer IM screw to this. And a little fiddly here, but I'll get it. And you can kind of see. And we definitely want to leave some slack on it so it's not too tight. That's good there. That looks good. Now I mount the other part of the steering arm here through the large hole, and it will swivel. I'll go ahead and lubricate that a little bit. And that goes down like that. And I put a DM screw into that. Hold it together. And there you have that. Now bring over the suspension. And I'll get one DM screw started. There's one started. I'm going to go to the other side and get it started on top. And mount that gearbox on top here. That looks good. Flip it over and put the other screw in and tighten it down. You can kind of see it there. And tightening them down. That's good. That looks good there. Screwing this around here. Getting it out of the way. And last thing we do is we put this down on top of that. And you can see how my steering is there. Really nice. I like how that works. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate that shaft. Put that down. Put a KM screw into that. And there that is. And that's how that looks. Your steering mechanism there. That was a lot of fun. Actually, it was a lot easier than what I thought it would be. So let's move on to stage 18. Welcome back to stage 18, which is the final stage for pack 5. And this time it looks like we're going to be assembling the front axle and steering arm for that also. And here's the parts we received. Here's the steps that we're going to be doing that with. Looks pretty simple and up front. So let me get the parts and I'll show you those and we'll get started. Here's parts pack for stage 18. And a lot going on in here, a lot of small little parts. Let me take these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. And all the parts here are metal. Here's our steering stubs and they are marked left and right. You can see the detail on the other side. Rivet detail and all that, pretty nice. Steering arms, they look very cool. IM, LM, and MM screws. Go ahead and install these steering arms. We're going to put the long steering arm on this side of the actuating rod and the short one on the other side. If you look at these arms, they are actually configured to where there's a little bit of a bend and it makes the arm go down a little bit. So that's the one that's going to hook up to the arm, and the other one is kind of facing up. Maybe hard to see for you. And it's going to be the same way for the other arm. And I'll show you where this goes to. Goes right there on that arm, and I'm going to use a IM screw to secure it. And also take note that you have the end with the wider hole, and that's what goes on that. And same thing with the shorter one. It's going to go through the wider hole. And that looks good there. You can just see how that looks there. Next, we're going to put our axle stubs on, and left side on the left side and right side on the right side. You want to make sure when you put it on here that you have your hole on top, the extra hole here on top, because we're going to mount a bracket to that. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate all this. Right on there. And I'm going to put my bracket on there. And when it goes down one way, you can kind of see it curves outward. Screw goes into that. It's a longer screw. Top and bottom, I would think. Flip it over. And since we don't have an arm going on that, we'll go ahead and put a shorter LM screw onto this. And that's good there. Next, we'll go ahead and do the other side. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. I'm going to lubricate this up just like I did the other side. And take my axle stub with the extra hole on top. And that's going to mount on that. And take my arm just like I did before. Put my longer screw into that. That's good there. Flip it over. Put the LM screw on the bottom. And that's tight there. And we hook up these arms next. An IM screw goes into that. There's one. Go ahead and do the other side. And that's secure there. And steering works great. And that completes pack 5. I enjoyed this build very much. I appreciate everybody who subscribes to my channel. Hit the bell for all video upload notifications. And please give me a thumbs up. Head over to eaglemoss.com and subscribe to this car today. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.